Well, hello everyone. It's like you talked to you about right here. It's like you say is the manual story. If it's 5 steps, or if it's you say is maybe 3 steps, or it's like 4 steps, usually anything like that. Is it talking about? It's like with the you say with the manual story. It's talking about it's like with the telephones. And with most of us, we'll probably think about it's like one of those phone adapters that you will see. It's like that most of us probably have is like talking about. It's like between landline phone. It's talking about it's like with the phone like this is like with the say color ID it is. But on the other hand too that we could probably think about is that knowing about really about how it's used and of course about like knowing about what the type of technology it is it's used by. And we could probably think about that hey it's like with the phone right here is talking about it's like leave a message right. But on the other hand too that knowing about whenever we were to take a picture or maybe write down, say notes. It is like talk about it's like you see between write down on your shirt, huh? But other than that, it's like take a message, whatever it is knowing about that. With most phones, the way they work, you usually work with is knowing about. It's like you say here is like with the dial tone. But other than that, is that with most of the time with most manuals, whenever kind of an idea that you could probably think about with most manuals is talking about is like that whenever you buy a product, a lot of times it would usually come with like what you call a CD or say any type of manual it is. And a lot of times that with most people would probably think about is like if you were to say buy maybe download and a manual. It is a lot of times that it could be it's like on like what you call a floppy disk, kind of like this right here, a disk where it's like if you want to take a few photographs and maybe copying it to a CD or say a memory stick unit it is. But the way I think about with most people would probably think about is that about the experience is knowing about that that if they really just want to learn just by maybe pushing a few buttons it is. And the way I think about I'm like that sometimes that's usually how I am too, that you just look at the device and then you look at you may take pictures and then of course that you may think about that I'll figure it out later. But on the other hand too, that knowing about between whatever mistakes that come between that now then and then later it is between that the from what you think about and then from now and later is knowing about that that you messed up a couple times before and then knowing about that this is how it works and then now you know your lesson it is knowing about that but you could probably think about what could particularly go wrong is like with a phone call. It is like with a phone call, as known as like if it's the wrong number or if it's like you were trying to call the operator. It is. But other than that, it's talking about with most phones. It's like knowing about the things that you could be doing before you may take a phone call. It is like need the phone line for any particular reason. It is known as like talk about like if you were to leave a message like and please pick up the phone so I won't be alone. But other than that, it's talking about it's like with the phone calls, it's like knowing about that. If you were to buy something from the store, it is, and knowing about this, like the type of buttons that you would normally be clicking on, for when you want to make a phone call it is. But one thing you better think about is knowing about that. That are you really are you really going to have like what you call say that the fun phone time? You say the fun phone time and knowing about it's like a nice phone. It's like nice phone. But other than that, it's talking about is like right there between nice phone and just knowing about that. Between how the rates add up is knowing about between what you say is like maybe let's say other than say on a normally say headset it is, and that knowing about it's like like a nice phone. But other than that, it's talking about like this, like talking about it's like this, like for say is the manual story. It's talking about it's like a nice phone. But other than that, it's talking about this like so far it's like story about his manual story. Well, hello everyone. As I talk to you about, is like you say, the manual story is shown right here. Of course, there's a few basics of stuff. A few basic things that you'll learn. It's like basically on the computer. If most of us were to be using, let's say, a phone kind of like this, you say if most of us are familiar with like maybe with one of those analog phones, it is between the wireless and of course the kind that that inquires, say, a line it is, and like hello hello. But other than that, it's like one of those things that you would be pushing normal buttons on. But just knowing about the fact about that with most of us, if we were to have like what you say, a phone, if we were to be talking on a phone, it just most of us are familiar with those old style phones, but then knowing about the things that you can be learning on the computer, is I can go ahead and say pull up and say it's like with the Skype right here, is that with most of us, familiar with like what you call is like you got Skype right here. It's like you 1, 2, 3, and 6, 5, 8, and 9. It is, of course, you got the star and pound, say, buttons right here. But right here is that knowing about with most of us, we probably think about that. Hey, that with these buttons right here, and just knowing about that really, are you really pushing on the button, or are you just clicking on the button? You're clicking on the button, just to make a phone call. And on the other hand, too, that knowing about that, yeah, that's totally different. It's really totally, from how you used to do it, and more likely they could probably think about that. Yeah, that inquires. You say it's like that particular headset it is. It's like it may require, say, like a little headset that you can mount on your ear, or maybe position it. It's like knowing about, it's like whatever laptop that you're using, inquire to say that certain, you say, with a laptop with a PC system like that, yeah, something like that that's built in, it is. But on the other hand, too, that knowing about that, yeah, the way that our accessories that from what we have and for we have to use, and knowing about that, yeah, it's like, are we going to complain more about that if they work or not, or maybe about how they work? Because more likely you could probably think about is knowing about if we're going to ever have something like this. Of course, if we're ever going to have something like this, to where that knowing about that, yeah, it's like hold this up. Hold this up to your ear, right? Okay, hold it up to your ear and do 45 jumping jacks. It's like, I don't do jumping jacks, and I don't see no reason to. It's like talking about, it's like this, like, well, I don't remember that being on the manual, but other than that, it's talking about this, like, as far as what I remember seeing is on the manual, is talking about like please pick up the phone so I won't be alone. But other than that, it's talking about, I maybe remember seeing that on the manual, but other than that, it's talking, they talk about, it's like with the manual story.